Hey there, Brightsider. I've got some refreshing riddles for you. Let's start with a warming-up activity. Your main goal is to answer fast and correctly, of course.
Yeah.
I have cities, but no houses. I have forests, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? Right. I'm a map. What can run but never walks? Has a mouth but never talks? Certainly not me. Has a head but never weeps? Has a bed but never sleeps? It's a river. Did you guess it right? What runs all around your backyard, yet never moves? Psst, it's a fence. I'm a box that holds keys without locks, yet my keys can unlock your imagination. What am I? A book. Now I've got a bit tougher brain teaser for you. What TV series is represented by this rebus? Here's a hint. The first, third, and fifth names are there only to fill space. And the answer is Even Stevens. All of the even numbers correspond to some kind of a variation of the name Stephen. Now, which letter comes next in this sequence? You can pick from the following letters: L, V, Y, T, or D. We need the letter Y. The sequence stands for second, minute, hour, day, week, month, and year. A cowboy rode into town on Friday. He stayed for 3 nights and rode out on Friday. How is it possible? His horse's name was Friday. 6 children have been measured. Turns out Weldon is taller than Delia, but shorter than Zena. Leisha is taller than Benito, but shorter than Delia and Weldon. Benito is not the shortest. Can you put the kids in order of height from the tallest to the shortest one? The right order is Zena, Weldon, Delia, Leisha, Benito, and Charlotte. Look at these athletes. Who will win the race? The left shoe of the guy on the right is untied, so he isn't likely to be the first one to get to the finish line. The guy on the left seems to be really exhausted, so he can't be the first one either. Meanwhile, the guy in the middle looks really confident, so he has the highest chance of winning this race. Now get ready for a nice logic puzzle. You've been invited to a party at Charlie's house, but you've never been there before. The guy has 7 friends who live nearby. They've given you a map showing all their houses as well as Charlie's house and provided you with the following information. Daniel: I can't see Benita's house because Greta's house is in the way. Adam: I live directly, but not diagonally, across the street from Daniel. Benita: Elena's house is to the west of my house. Elena: I have to cross 3 streets to arrive at Franco's house. How? I live east of Bonita. Can you figure out which house is Charlie's? It's House E, and that's where the rest of the friends live. On April Fool's Day, a teenager decided to play a prank on his parents. He replaced salt in 3 out of the 4 salt shakers with sugar and left messages on each of them. Shaker A, this is salt. Shaker B, this is salt. Shaker C, this is sugar. Shaker D, the salt is not in Shaker B. If only one of these inscriptions is true, which shaker contains salt? The only truthful statement is statement D. The salt is not in Shaker B. Otherwise, 2 statements will be true and it's against the rules. And if statement D is true, then the salt is in Shaker C. If Teresa's daughter is my daughter's mother, what am I to Teresa? You can choose from the following options. The correct answer is, I'm Teresa's daughter. You see, in this riddle, you, the reader, are Teresa's daughter. That's what you are to her. How come? Well, if Teresa has a daughter who is also the mother of your daughter, you are Teresa's daughter. Now let's break it down in a different way. Teresa is your daughter's grandmother, which makes Teresa your mother and makes you the daughter of Teresa. The tricky part is the multiple choice answers. You might have tried to figure it out as if you're an additional person to the riddle, when in fact, you're inserted into the riddle from the get-go. If Teresa's daughter, which is you, is my daughter's mother, what am I to Teresa? The answer is already there. A cat is out on a hunt, and a mouse is hiding from the predator. Can you spot the mouse before the cat does? Here it is. Find the number that best completes the following sequence. This number is 16 because each next number adds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 respectively to the preceding number. Let's have a small break and crack some short riddles, but you need to be fast.
Yeah.
I make 2 people out of 1. What am I? A mirror. What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years? It's the letter M. What's more useful when it's broken? The answer is an egg. What did a computer eat on the moon? Space bars. Oh. Now look at this picture and try to figure out which figure doesn't belong here. It's the triangle. It has only 3 line segments, while the other figures have 4. Another image to examine. Can you deduce which woman is rich? Sarah's watch is fake. Look at the way the name of the brand is written, Versace. Pam's gold bracelet looks very old and has scratches all over it. At the same time, Jessica's wearing a real Tiffany bracelet. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson wanted to celebrate their wedding anniversary. They were going to organize an extravagant party and invite hundreds of guests. But Mrs. Anderson was worried about all the expensive stuff they had in their villa. The couple decided to invite a detective to look after the guests. And indeed, in the middle of the party, the detective noticed a thief. Look at the people gathered in the garden and try to spot the criminal. It's the guy on the left. He's trying to steal a woman's bracelet. One morning, Donna came to the office and found a box of chocolates on her desk. There was a strange note. October 7th, May 3rd, August 1st, January 3rd. Can you help Donna understand who presented her the sweets? Her secret admirer is Ryan. Those are not dates. The numbers actually means the needed letter in the name of the month. Detective Mitchell was following a bank robber, but after the criminal turned the corner, he seemed to vanish into thin air. After wandering around for a while, the detective came across a small park with a lake. Right on the shore, there were several marble statues. The man was about to pass by when something drew his attention. He realized where the criminal was. Can you figure it out? One of the statues is looking at its watch. It's the bank robber. Dennis is taking part in a competition. If his last answer is correct, he'll get a prize, an expensive watch. But first, he needs to figure out which of these two watches is real and which is just a toy. The watch on the left is a toy. Look at its minute hand. It's too long and won't be able to pass all the way around the watch face. Lisa worked as a teaching assistant at a college. One day, she had to look after a group of students who were writing an exam. Lisa knew that some of them were going to cheat, and indeed, soon after the exam started, the girl spotted one person who was cheating. Who was it? The guy in the back of the classroom. He's got the answers written on his arm. Harry wakes up inside a simulated reality. An AI voice tells him that he needs to complete a series of tasks in order to get back to his normal life. 3 doors are projected in front of him. The first has a huge hammer that smashes anything that passes by it. The second door leads to a corridor filled with electric pipes. And behind the third door, there's broken glass all over the place. He has 2 seconds to choose one of the doors. Which one should he pick? He should choose the third door. Since he's wearing shoes, he'll be all right. He goes through that door and ends up in a cage. Inside, there are 3 rescue buttons. The red button will open the cage immediately, but it also simultaneously opens a cage with a hungry lion. The blue one will open the cage in 10 minutes, but it will also open hundreds of water pipes. The orange button will open the cage in 5 minutes, but it will also set the place on fire. Which of the buttons should he press? He should press the blue one. I mean, since it's a cage, it won't fill up with water. As soon as his cage opens, he is free to swim away. Then he finds himself at a crossroads. There are 3 different paths, and he needs to figure out which one to take. The first path is filled with smoking coal. The second path has frozen ice all over it. And the third path has pretty sharp nails. Which one should he choose? He should definitely choose the middle path. Even if the ice doesn't melt during daytime, it's pretty easy to go through it. It looks like Harry is doing pretty well, so the AI controlling the game decides to make the task a bit more difficult. It projects a scene where Harry is now in a hotel lobby. He has to figure out which of the lobby guys won't help him with his luggage. It's definitely the guy in the middle. If you look closely, the guy is transparent, which means he's probably a ghost. He can't touch physical stuff, so he won't be able to help Harry. Suddenly, the weekend in this virtual reality, and Harry is taken to a cabin in the mountains. There are 4 friends waiting for his arrival. They have a fun time, but at the end of the weekend, the cabin catches fire. One of his friends did it. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who did it? It's the third guy to the right. He has a tiny gasoline bottle hanging from his belt. Harry suddenly appears in what looks like a wedding ceremony and discovers he's the one getting married. 2 women appear in front of him. They are dressed the same, but they both have their faces covered with veils. He needs to figure out who his true bride is. Can you help him out here? They look identical, but one of them already has a wedding ring. This can only mean that his true bride is the other lucky gal. For his next challenge, he's taken to a restaurant where a waitress shows him 4 glasses. Each glass is filled with the same liquid, water, and has an object inside of it. The waitress asks Harry which glass has more water than the rest. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out the correct answer? This shouldn't be too hard. The last glass is the one that has more water inside. The paperclip weighs almost nothing, while the other objects are way heavier. This means there is less water in all the other glasses. Harry's doing great thanks to you. Now look at this image. There are 3 people about to parachute out of an airplane. Help Harry figure out who is in graver danger here. It's the first 2 people. You see, there's a heavy bottle in the last guy's backpack. If it falls down, it can break the other's parachutes. Uh-oh. Harry's stomach starts to growl after so much hard work, so he asks for some food. The AI controlling the game decides to create 2 chefs to bake him 2 different cakes. But here's the catch. Only one is safe to eat. Take a look at both of these delicious-looking cakes. Which one is safe? If you have a sharp eye, you'll know that the chef on the left is a fake, so you shouldn't eat his cake. The left chef has stains all over his shirt that look like blood. Plus, he doesn't have a badge on his shirt. He has a scratch over his eye, and he's hiding a syringe in his hand behind his back. There are just too many red flags here. Harry should go for the cake on the right. Well, it's time to take a nap, and Harry is taken to an old house. There are 3 rooms for him to choose from. Take a look at the picture. Which one should he choose? Well, so you see the hidden scenarios behind the curtains in the first room? That's a big no-no. As for the third room, notice how the AC is set to cold even though it's snowing outside. No to that, so he should definitely pick the second room. To sweeten things up a bit, Harry was enrolled into a baking competition. He was introduced to 3 judges, and they each told Harry what their favorite cake was. The first judge expressed his love for chocolate pies. Judge number 2 said he loved berry pies more than anything in the world. And Judge 3 said he was fond of pecan pies, also pronounced pecan. Harry immediately knew one of them was lying. Can you tell who? It was Judge number 2. Do you see the chocolate stains and pie crumbles on the second judge's shirt? That could only mean he was enjoying a slice of chocolate pie before arriving at the competition venue. Harry needs to enter a new realm of the game, and for that, he needs to go through what looks like an airport. He didn't have any luggage with him, but he still needed to go through a security check. He went through the scanner, but he beeped every time he passed through it. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out what was making him beep so much? It was the necklace chain dangling from the pocket of his jacket. Good eye if you spotted that. Passing through the different realms, Harry spotted a nice bakery, then decided to stop for some more nourishment. There were 3 options to choose from: a cupcake, a chocolate croissant, and a gingerbread cookie. Can you guess which one he picked? You don't need to be a genius to see that Harry is using gingerbread cookie socks. He loves them so much, which is why that's his usual pick. Harry arrived at the gate of the new realm, and there were 2 creatures guarding him, a lion and a unicorn. There was a little sign saying that the lion lied on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and that the unicorn lied on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Harry asked to get inside, and the lion said he needed to answer one of the riddles. He told Harry that he lied yesterday, and the unicorn said he also lied yesterday. Can you help Harry figure out which day of the week was yesterday? Well, let's see how this works. From what the magical creature said, they were both lying on the same day. So the only possible answer to this riddle is Saturday. If we consider yesterday was Saturday, that means the lion was telling the truth and the unicorn was lying. Finally, Harry completed all of his tasks and was allowed to go back home. Which of the 3 doors should Harry choose to get back home? Well, let's see. He should choose the door in the middle. It has a house emoji on it, which will probably take Harry directly back to the comfort of his home.
Hey, dear detective! It's time you apply your skills to solve the toughest brain teasers we've got. Look at these hands. All of them seem to belong to wealthy people. But it's just an illusion. Your first case is to figure out which person is indeed rich. Have you noticed the brand names on the accessories on the left and the right hands are misspelled? These luxury items must be fake. As for the hand in the middle, it's decorated with a real gold bracelet. It most likely belongs to a rich person. Now, look at these travelers and their bags very attentively. Can you spot a smuggler? Why would a blind person need a flashlight in his luggage? That's suspicious. He must be the criminal we're looking for. Which of these people is poor? Pay attention to the guy with an iPhone. The apple on the back is whole, which means the phone is fake. How about these people? Who is richer? The man on the left looks like a rich businessman, but he might be pretending. At the same time, the guy with green hair looks very casual, but he's holding a brand new laptop and expensive headphones. He's likely to be richer. Can you figure out which of these athletes is poor? It must be the blonde guy who's wearing a fake Adidas shirt. Or should I say, a Bebas. You wake up in a room with 3 doors. Suddenly, someone starts knocking on each of them. You come up to each door in turn and sneak a peek through the peephole. Behind each door, there's a police officer. Do you know which door is safe to open? You can open the 3rd door without any worries. The first man doesn't show his badge and has a knife tucked under his belt. The second man has weird stars on his uniform. As for the 3rd police officer, he is the only one with identical stars on his hat and badge without any hidden weapon. He's your safest option. These people look homeless, but one of them isn't poor. Who is it? Look at the guy with a cart. He's got car keys. Now this task is tough. Which of these ladies doesn't have a lot of money? Think twice before answering. The lady in pink buys only those clothes that are on sale. She might be poor. Doris was having a beach vacation with her friend Teresa. One morning, the young women were sunbathing near the water. Teresa went to a cafe to get some lemonade while Doris went swimming. When she came back, she saw that her smartphone, which she had left on her beach towel, was gone. She asked a man sunbathing nearby if he had seen her smartphone. He answered that he'd been sleeping the whole time. At this moment, Teresa came back with the lemonade. She looked around and immediately understood where Doris's phone was. Who took it? It was the neighbor. Before the accident, the spade was lying on his left. Now it's on the right. There's also a suspicious pile of sand near the spade now. The man must have hidden the phone in the sand, hoping to dig it out later. Look at these guys attentively. One of them is not living alone. Who is it? The man on the right. He's got 2 toothbrushes. Joe had a friend, Randy, who never answered questions directly. Once, Joe sent Randy a message inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Randy's answer was kinda weird. Sorry, no money, job and job. Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Randy meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. Terry invited his friend Alice, who was studying to become a police officer, to a party. It was organized by his friend Sean. Terry was worried that there could be a thief at this party. Throughout the event, Alice was watching the guests attentively. At the end of the party, she told Terry who the thief was. Have you figured it out? It's the host, Sean. At the beginning of the party, One of the guests had a watch on his wrist, and this woman had a beautiful necklace. But at the end of the party, the watch was already on Sean's wrist, and the necklace was in the flower pot. The police were informed that one of the most wanted criminals, Carl Walker, was going to arrive in the country. According to this information, the man was going to come by plane. Unfortunately, the police knew very little about him. He was short, wearing glasses, and traveling under a false name. Detective Adams went to the airport. He detained 4 people who fit the description. They were Mr. Lewis, Mr. Relkoff, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Wilson. Can you figure out who the criminal is? It's Mr. Relkoff. His last name is actually the criminal's last name, Walker, but with its letters mixed. Austin, a rich businessman, brought very important documents to his office. But he had a meeting and needed to leave for several hours. Austin asked his secretary to be super attentive. His competitors could try to break into his office to look at the documents. When he came back, his secretary told him everything had been quiet. But when the man looked around, he realized someone had been inside his office. The secretary eventually admitted having fallen asleep while Austin was away. How did the businessman understand someone had visited his office? The globe on his desk is now turned in the opposite direction. You're trapped in a room with no doors or windows. All of a sudden, the room starts filling with water. You check everywhere but can't find any way to turn it off. You know that help is on the way, but it's still at least 5 minutes until their arrival. You only have 2 minutes. After that, the entire room will be flooded. Obviously, you can't hold your breath for 3 minutes. You've got 3 objects, but only one of them can save your life. What should you choose? A straw, a rope, or an empty bucket? You should opt for the bucket. Put it on your head. This will create an air pocket, and you'll be able to breathe for a couple of minutes until help arrives. Carter had a fast and successfully developing company until his main investor went bankrupt. Upset, Carter went to visit his best friend Justin, who was a coffee shop owner. Justin told him that a rich businessman visited his cafe almost every day. He was there that day too. The man was very secretive and didn't have any social media accounts. Justin told Carter to go and introduce himself and pointed towards the back of the coffee shop. The guy went there and saw 3 men, but he didn't ask his friend which one was the wealthy entrepreneur. He looked at the men attentively. Can you figure out which one he needs? It isn't the guy in the middle. He has a dollar store bag. The one on the right could be rich, but he's recording an Instagram story. And the businessman isn't active on any social media. This means the man Carter needs is on the left. 3 friends agreed to hang out together on a Friday night. One of them, Brian, was tasked with bringing pizza. But the guy was running extremely late. His friends were starving. Strangely, Brian wasn't picking up their calls. But in an hour or so, he sent them a selfie. In the photo, he was standing next to his car. In the following message, he wrote he had run out of gas. He was at a gas station filling up his car. But his friends didn't believe Brian's excuses. Why? In the picture, it's clearly seen that the guy has an electric car. It doesn't need gas. I've got a bunch of new riddles for you, oh great detective. Concentrate and crack them all like nuts. Look at this picture very attentively. One of these people attacked the artist, but can you figure out who it was? The artist started writing the letter K and then another letter, but he didn't have time to finish it. It seems to be an I, so the culprit could be Kitty. But at the same time, it also looks as if the artist simply didn't have time to finish the letter L, which is another letter that can be confused with I. So, if the injured man tried to write the lower part of the letter L but didn't have enough time to finish it, it could easily be Claude, who attacked him. What do you think? Was it Claude or Kitty? Write your answer in the comments. These people seem to be rather strange, but only one of them is a real vampire. Who is it? All of them are drinking something red, but it might be just some pomegranate juice. The girl on the left has a blood red streak next to her mouth, but it might just be smudged lipstick. The man has weird teeth, but they could be artificial. As for the woman on the right, she must be the vampire. Have you noticed that she doesn't have a reflection in the mirror? This couple is about to get married. What a happy event. But not everything is rainbows and butterflies here. One of the people in the picture is actually an alien. Have you spotted this guest from another planet? It's the bride herself. Look, she's got 3 arms. Continuing with the topic of extraterrestrial visitors, you need to find an alien among these athletes. Can you spot anything unusual about them? The guy on the left must be an alien. He's got 2 left hands. Yikes. Creepy. Now this guy seems to be lost and confused. There are 2 doors in front of him, and both ladies seem friendly. But one of the doors isn't safe to enter. Which one is it? It's the door on the left. This glamorous lady is offering the guy a ride, but do you see that strange decor in her apartment? Especially the skull? At the same time, the second woman looks quite disheveled. But despite her messy appearance, offering food might just be a kind gesture. In any case, a ride with a stranger holds more risk than a simple hamburger. Look at these bathrooms very attentively. Your task is to figure out which of them belongs to a zombie. Well, both bathrooms look kinda disgusting, but a real zombie leaves on the left. Do you see that glass standing on the sink in the left room? The zombie keeps his fingers there. Ugh. We've got 3 Miss School contestants here. They look pretty and all, but one of them is actually dangerous. Which one is it? It's the girl in the pink dress. There's blood on her crown. Another day, another monster. Look at these people attentively and try to figure out which of them is a werewolf. The man on the left is just wearing a mask. It's quite obvious. The lady in the middle might have had some kind of an accident, hence the bizarre blue spots on her body. But the man on the right is literally covered with fur, which he is trying to hide with his clothes, but his true nature can still be spotted. A crazy scientist captured Mark and locked him in his lab to use the guy for his experiments. Luckily, the guy managed to get out of the lab, taking along 3 pills. Each of them worked for 10 seconds. The green pill could provide him with regeneration abilities, The red pill could allow him to become invisible, and the blue pill provided him with the ability to fly. To get out of there, Mark had to pass through 3 rooms. One was guarded by a vampire, the second one was protected by a werewolf, and the third one hosted a maniac with a chainsaw. Which pill should Mark take to pass through each room? Mark needs to take the invisibility pill to get past the vampire, the pill enabling him to fly to get past the werewolf, and the regeneration pill to escape the chainsaw. Simon was stuck at a gas station 50 miles away from the city. His car was broken and could be repaired only by the end of the day. Luckily, there were 3 drivers who were ready to offer him a ride to the city. Look at these people and try to understand which car is safe. The driver in the red car is actually a criminal. The police have been looking for the vehicle he's driving. It must have been stolen. The man in the yellow car must be a criminal too, since he is depicted on the wanted poster on the wall. Only that granny in the blue car is safe to ride with. Maria Walker, a rich businesswoman, collected ancient pieces of art. One day, she managed to buy a priceless Chinese figurine. Maria locked it in a safe in her office and went home. But the next morning, the figurine was gone. Police have 3 suspects, all of them Miss Walker's subordinates. The detective asked each of them if they'd taken the figurine from the safe. Beverly said she hadn't been to the office since Monday. Ralph said that he didn't even know how to open safes and wasn't interested in Chinese art. And Vincent admitted that he'd been to Miss Walker's office after her departure, but he only took some documents he needed. Have you understood who the thief was? It was Ralph. Otherwise, how would he know the figurine was Chinese? Mary was a college teacher. It was the beginning of a new school year and 3 new students joined the class. When Mary saw them, she immediately realized something was off about one of them. What did she notice? The guy in the middle doesn't have a shadow. Logan worked as a security officer on a small cruise ship. One day, during a severe storm, he found Mr. Lewis lying on the deck. When the man came to his senses, he said someone had hit him on the head and had taken his wallet. Logan had 3 suspects. He visited them in their cabins. Her bed. Denise said she'd been watching a movie on her smartphone, and Philip said he'd been writing a letter to his wife. Logan immediately understood who had hit Mr. Lewis. Do you know? It was Philip. Look at his letter. The handwriting is immaculate, but it's impossible to write so accurately during a storm. Look at these elderly ladies. Both of them have gone out for a walk. At first glance, they seem totally normal, but one of them is actually planning something bad. Can you figure out which granny it is? It's the granny on the right. She's got a file hidden in her knitting basket. Look at this explorer. He seems to be in a tough situation. There are 4 tunnels in front of him. The first one seems to be freezing cold, with some perilous-looking icicles hanging over the entrance. The second tunnel looks outright creepy. A giant shark is in the third tunnel, and the 4th pass is covered with molten lava. Where should our explorer go? he should opt for the first tunnel. Have you noticed a rather well-trodden track there? So this way can't be too dangerous. Kenneth was hungry. He found a nice diner that served burgers and bought one. After a waiter brought him his order, Kenneth went to the bathroom to wash his hands. But when he came back, his burger was gone. The guy looked around the diner and understood who had taken his lunch. Can you figure it out? It's this young woman. A dog is sitting at her feet and sniffing the air. If she was just drinking coffee, which is what she's pretending to do, the dog wouldn't be so interested in her. Ivy has been partying all night long. Finally, she leaves the club. Ivy wants to call a taxi, but her phone isn't working. 3 people are eager to give her a ride. Can you spot which drivers are dangerous? If you nailed it, please share your answer in the comments. The second car has a flat tire. Probably not the safest option. The third car is fine, but the driver is hiding an axe in his pocket. So, Ivy should definitely choose the first car. Unluckily, Ivy picks the wrong driver. She falls asleep on the way and wakes up in the city service tunnels. Ivy wanders around for a while and finds 3 tunnels leading outside. But they're not safe. A hungry alligator is waiting in the first one. The second tunnel is filled with acid that can dissolve Ivy's body in a few seconds. And there's a deep pit covered with sharp rocks in the third tunnel. Which tunnel should she choose to survive? Let us know in the comments. Ivy should choose the third tunnel. The water is running right into the pit, so it must be filled with water by now. Therefore, Ivy can swim through it safely. Ivy swims out of the tunnels and finds herself in the middle of the bay. She's rescued by a ship. The crew leaves Ivy to rest in the hold, but suddenly the ship begins to flood, fast. Ivy's trying to get out, but the hatch is stuck. She's locked inside the hold. How can Ivy survive? Think carefully and tell us your answer in the comments. She's got to hold her breath and wait until the hold is filled up with water. When the pressure is even, she'll be able to open the hatch. Ivy escapes, jumps onto a lifeboat, and arrives on an island. The lifeboat gets blown away by the wind right away. Ivy is alone on a desert island covered with dry plants. The water around it is infested with piranhas. Suddenly, a fierce fire breaks out, and the winds are blowing her away. Ivy can't touch the water in any way. How can she survive the fire? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. She should use a branch to burn some grass. When the flame reaches her, there will be a burnt-out spot. The fire won't touch it. Phew, the fire is gone. Ivy is exploring the island. She finds a secret hatch in the ground, opens it, and enters a creepy dungeon. The hatch slams shut. Ivy is trapped inside. Thankfully, the dungeon has a sufficient supply of buckets filled with food, matches, and medicine for a week. But Ivy doesn't want to stay here that long, so she's searching for ways out. Soon she comes across 3 doors. A hungry bear and a cub are waiting behind the first door. There's a wall of fire behind the second door. And the third door leads to a lake filled with crocodiles. Which door should Ivy choose? Hurry up to be the first to comment. The bear will try to protect its cub. Crocs are a bad idea too, but Ivy can distract them with food and then use the lake water and the bucket to fight the fire. So she should choose the second door. Ivy gets out of the dungeon. Suddenly, she sees a helicopter in the sky. The island is still covered with dry, burnt plants. Can you help Ivy find a way to make the pilot notice her? Remember the matches and medicine kept in the dungeon? Ivy should use them to make a fire in the bucket to send a signal to the pilot. But if you come up with an alternative answer, be sure to let us know in the comments. The helicopter pilot, whose name is Andy, takes Ivy off the island. They're flying towards the mainland, but unfortunately the engine breaks down on the way. Andy has to land the helicopter as soon as possible. There are 3 options: a snowy mountain peak, an island inhabited by monsters who eat all strangers, and the foot of an ancient volcano. Which landing spot is the least dangerous? If you nailed it, please share your answer. Monsters are a bad idea. This volcano is about to erupt, so it's not safe to land here as well. But take a closer look at the mountain. It's located near a city, so this option is the safest. Andy and Ivy land on a mountain peak. There are 3 roads to get to the city. Which route should they take to stay alive? The comment section below is waiting for your answer. Only the second route leads to the city. On the way, Andy and Ivy get very hungry. They come across 3 food stalls, but only one has food that's safe to eat. If you already know which, don't hesitate to share it in the comments. The first chef doesn't wear any gloves and his hands are really dirty. No thanks. And the third kiosk is located right next to a toxic waste bin. So the second option is the best. Ivy finally made it home. The next day, she sends Andy this photo, and a day later, this one. How did she survive? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. Ivy just photoshopped herself to make it look dangerous. Let's zoom in the second picture. She has a photo editor open on her computer. Ivy is a scientist, and today she carries her nanorobots to a scientific fair. Suddenly, someone attacks her. Ivy wakes up in a prison. The thief stole her bag. But thankfully, Ivy still has 3 tiny robots in her pockets. She has a toad robot that spits poison, a spider robot capable of creating very strong webs, and a butterfly robot that melts everything it lands on. Which robot can save Ivy? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. The butterfly can melt the bars. The bars are gone. Ivy runs along a creepy corridor and faces 3 open doors. Which door is not dangerous? Think carefully, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. The first lady is a werewolf, and the third lady isn't human. Take a look at her eyes. So only the second door is safe. This leg behind the curtain is just a kitten. Ivy passes through the door and continues her runaway. She faces a guard in front of the exit. He says, "If you solve my equation, I'll let you go. But if you fail, you'll stay in this jail forever. Add 1 line to make this equation true. You can't cross out the equal sign." Can you help Ivy escape? Think carefully and feel free to leave your answer in the comments. She should use the line to turn one of the plus signs into a 4. This way, we'll get 545 plus 5 plus 5, which equals 555. Ivy nails it and leaves the jail. But there are 2 more prisoners trying to get free. Who's more likely to escape? Give this video a thumbs up if you already know the answer. Digging through toxic waste seems like a very dangerous idea. But the First Lady can distract the dogs with her sandwich. Therefore, her chances of escaping are higher. Andy invites Ivy on a date. He offers 3 options. He just received a brand new helicopter so they can have a romantic ride over the city. The second option is to swim in a pool on the roof of a 5-star hotel. And finally, they can go ride a Ferris wheel in the local amusement park. What should Ivy choose to stay alive? Don't forget to share your answer. All 3 options are risky. Take a look at the sky. There's lightning. It's forbidden to fly a helicopter into a thunderstorm. The Ferris wheel can be hit by lightning too. And swimming in a thunderstorm isn't safe either. But at least the guys can hide inside the hotel. Hit the like button if you manage to crack each riddle, and don't forget to subscribe.
Take a look at these 3 teachers in the school canteen. One of them is a vampire. Can you guess who it is? Check out carefully what they eat. The third lady has some garlic, so she can't be a vampire. The second lady has taken a bite of food from her tray, so it's most likely hers. But the first guy's food is still untouched, so he must be just bringing it to someone else. Vampires don't really need food. They feed on blood, so that salad is of no interest to him. The Smiths family, Ginger, Ross, and their kids, Polly and Bob, had a celebration and exchanged gifts. But somehow, all the cards got lost. And since all the gifts were packed in boxes of the same size, the only thing that differs is color. Can you figure out to whom each gift belongs? Ginger, the mother, must get the gifts in green wrapping paper because her name starts with a G. Ross, the father, gets the gifts wrapped in red paper. Polly, the daughter, gets all the pink ones. And Bob, the son, has all the blue gifts, following the same logic. On a winter day, Mike went skiing. Suddenly, he found a secret laboratory hidden in the mountains. It was well guarded, but curious Mike managed to find an open door. Once he got inside, the door got instantly shut and wouldn't open again. There in the lab, Mike saw 3 large barrels, each with different stuff inside. The first barrel was literally on fire. The second one was full of acid, and there was a working electric saw in the third one. All of a sudden, Mike heard a voice. Each of the barrels contains a key that can set you free, but you aren't allowed to move the barrels. Good luck! What did Mike do to escape? Hey, it seems like this lab wasn't well heated. There were a bunch of icicles on the ceiling, so he grabbed them and threw them into the burning barrel. They melted and extinguished the fire, allowing him to grab the key. Lame Horse is the most popular club in town, and lots of people hope to get inside. However, security guards are pretty strict, and all visitors must comply with a set of requirements issued by the club management. Visitors must be over 25. They must wear a total black look, and their name cannot start with an A. Now, look at these 3 people waiting at the entrance, who cannot be let in. Well, look at their IDs closely. We have Ivory, who's 27. She's also dressed according to the rules. Now here's James. He's 24 and he's wearing a red t-shirt. Out. The last person is Dylan. He's got a total black look and it seems like he's 30, but his ID is surely fake. How can someone be born on February 31st? So only Ivory can enter the club. Josh wanted to surprise his girlfriend and buy her a present of her dreams. But he wanted to make it a surprise, so he couldn't ask her what exactly she wanted. He decided to check out her favorites on a website she always used for online shopping. But her laptop asked for a password. Still, Josh managed to unlock it. How did he do it? Look at the sticker on the desk. It looks like a bunch of misspelled words. But each typo actually helps figure out the password. O in laundry, extra I in table, extra I in mice, V in the word answer, and extra E in the word cat. Altogether, it's olive. Chastity, Chris, and Jacob are at the counter near an airport gate. All of them claim they must be on the flight to Houston. But the airline employee checked the list of passengers to verify their claims. So he can only check their boarding passes and try to understand which one is real. Can you help him? The only real boarding pass belongs to Chastity. Look, the one that Chris has mentions his date of birth, which is never printed on boarding passes. The one that Jacob has doesn't have the flight number, which is almost impossible. Well, welcome aboard, Chastity. Liam was traveling on a train where he met Brian. Now, Brian invited him to have coffee in the dining car, and Liam agreed. For some reason, Liam left the train in terror at the next station without taking his belongings, even though it wasn't his destination. Why? The thing is, on the way to the dining car, Liam spotted something he couldn't see while seated. There was a huge tail visible underneath Brian's coat. He couldn't be a human, and having coffee with him could cost Liam his life. Ew. Ashley decided to change her hairstyle and headed to the nearest hair salon. There were 3 hairdressers available. Which one is safe? Look, the first hairdresser has just finished working with the previous client, and the client is literally crying. The hairstyle is horrendous. The second hairdresser has knives instead of special scissors. She doesn't seem to be safe either. However, the third hairdresser seems completely fine. So Ashley should pick her. Mary is a beginner gardener. She decided to grow some flowers in her garden, and there are already several sprouts. Yesterday, she watered them as usual, but today she sees that all of her sprouts have perished. Why? Mary should have checked the weather forecast. Yesterday, the sky was covered with gray clouds. It was going to rain. So the flowers got a double portion of water, which is bad too. Mary should have covered her plants instead. It was Jenny's first month at her new school. At the end of the month, she found a note from Barry in her locker. At first, she didn't get its meaning, but when she figured out that it was encrypted, the meaning became clear to her. Take a look at the note. Can you figure out what Barry wrote to Jenny? To decipher the note, you need to understand that the numbers correspond to the placement of the letters in the note. The first letter is I, the second is L, and the eighth is K. Now keep doing this until you decipher the whole thing. The note says, "I like you." It looks like Jenny has an admirer. Martha is standing on one side of a river and her cat is on the other. Martha is calling her cat, but those guys aren't into water and swimming in general. However, the cat immediately starts crossing the river without getting wet. There are no boats or bridges. How is it possible? The river is frozen, so the cat can just walk on the ice. In 1890, Bart was 15 years old. Strangely, in 1895, he was 10 years old. How is that possible? The thing is, Bart was born in 1905 BCE. The calendar worked the other way around back then. Linda and Porter were walking in the woods when they saw an old hut. They walked inside, but the door through which they entered suddenly vanished into thin air. Instead, 3 new doors appeared in front of them. Behind the first one, there were venomous rats. Behind the second door, arrows with poison on their tips were flying across the room at head height. And the third door hid a 30-foot deep pit. Which door leads to freedom? They should choose the second door. They don't need to walk, they can simply crawl under the arrows. Pamela met a stranger yesterday, and she immediately knew who he was. She hadn't seen this person before, and no one had ever described him to Pamela. This person wasn't a celebrity, and he wasn't doing anything unusual. How come she knew who he was? The man was Pamela's friend's twin brother. Anna went grocery shopping and bought a lot of products that needed to be stored in the fridge, like meat and cheese. When she returned home, she realized that her fridge was already full, and she had nowhere to store all those products. What should she do? Anna needs to reconsider the way she stores stuff in her fridge. For example, rice and cookies don't need to be kept there. Once she takes all the unnecessary stuff out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store the dairy products and meat. Now, Bella and Ella are preparing for an epic party. Can you figure out who's not very smart? Even though Bella looks as if she's about to touch a hot iron, the device is actually unplugged, so she probably won't burn herself. Meanwhile, Ella is about to touch a heated waffle.
Oh.
Bella and Ella text their friend named Mike, who never answers any questions directly. They invite him to go to a party together. Mike's answer is kinda weird. Sorry, no money, job and job. Now, can you help the ladies crack Mike's message? Mike said he had no money because he was in between jobs. Bella and Ella arrive at the nightclub and see a huge line at the entrance. The local guard, Greg, checks people's ID cards. His task is not to let in suspicious people and folks under 21 years old. Here's the first guest's ID card. What do you think? Can you help Greg decide if he can let this visitor in? She seems fine. Let her in.
Yes!
Here's the next guest. What do you say? June 31 doesn't exist. There are only 30 days in June, so no entry, buddy.
Oh no!
Now what about this guy? Something's wrong with his birth date as well. There was no February 29 in 1977. That wasn't a leap year. And what about this lady's ID? Yep, she's good to go.
Okay.
Here's another candidate. What do you say? Well, he's 22, so he seems fine. Finally, Bella and Ella enter the club building, but they take a wrong turn and get lost. Finally, they enter an old-fashioned two-story hallway with a beautiful fountain in the middle of the room. That's when Bella and Ella realize that they are not alone. There are many ghosts here. Can you figure out the exact number? There are 7 ghosts in this space. One of the ghosts is hiding inside the fountain. And the lady over there is not a ghost. She's standing on her feet and she's sweating. So she's very much alive. The lady is the owner of the property. She says, "To get out of this place, you have to crack the following puzzle. Can you help Bella and Ella figure out what number is hiding under the question mark?" It's 1. 5 equals 1 because 1 equals 5. That was mentioned earlier in the equation. Bella and Ella are very hungry. Finally, they get to the party and see 2 tables with snacks. Although they look identical, there are 5 differences between them. Can you spot those details? Feel free to pause the video if you need more time. Here they are. Bella and Ella take a couple of selfies at the party. Can you spot 3 differences between these pictures? Ah, 1, 2, and 3. Bella goes to the dance floor, and Ella stays on the sofa. After a while, Bella returns and finds no Ella, only a creepy note on the sofa. "We have imprisoned your friend in the middle of this labyrinth. Go save her before it's too late." Bella approaches the labyrinth entrance. She's worried that once she walks in, she won't be able to find her way out.
Oh my god.
How can she escape the labyrinth without getting lost and wasting too much time? She should put her right hand on the right wall and go forward, touching it at all times. She'll be walking into traps along the way. But if Bella follows the right wall, she'll get out of traps and will eventually find her way out of the labyrinth. Let's take a look at this labyrinth from above. Can you help Bella find the correct path? Here's the only route leading to the final destination. Bella manages to find Ella in the center of the maze. Suddenly, a secret door opens, and a creepy voice announces, "You can use this elevator to leave, but first, you have to enter a 4-number passcode to turn it on." Can you help the ladies crack the code? Take a look at the 4 symbols on the elevator. It's a hint. Each image implies a number. The word crown consists of 5 words, so it implies 5. Necklace implies 8, ring 4, and diamond 7. And the code is 5847.
Oh.
Bella and Ella want to return to the party, but they face a guard who says, "You'll have to crack my riddle if you want to come in." What is that thing that you have to break before you can use it? The ladies crack this mystery right away. What about you? The correct answer is an A.
Yes!
Bella and Ella are walking down the corridor. They face a locked door. There are 5 buttons on the door, but only one of them will let Bella and Ella pass. If they choose the wrong one, the door will get blocked forever. Can you help them choose the correct button? There's something special about almost all these buttons. The first one is unlike the others because it doesn't have an outline. The second one has a different shape. The third one has a different color. And the last one is smaller than all the others. The fourth button doesn't have any distinctions. That's what makes it so special. So Bella and Ella should press this one. Yay! The party goes on. 3 guys approach Ella and invite her to the dance floor. But only one of them is safe to dance with. Can you decide who? The first guy has too many spikes on his clothes. He might accidentally scratch Ella. And the second guy is a sorcerer. He has a love potion in his pocket, so he can't be trusted either. Therefore, Ella should pick the third guy. Bella takes a picture of Ella on the dance floor. She freaks out right away.
Oh my god.
Why? There's a skeleton among the dancing people. Ella gets very thirsty after dancing and approaches a waiter. He offers her an infinite supply of free drinks if she can crack his riddle. "I'll give you 1 glass of milk and 1 glass of water. You'll need to pour the 2 liquids into a bowl, but you should be able to separate the milk from the water later. You can't use any kind of dividers." It took Ella a while, but she cracked this riddle. What did she do? She poured all the water into a bowl and froze it. After that, she added the milk.
Oh.
Finally, Bella and Ella leave the party and enter a supermarket to grab some snacks. They see 2 ladies. One of them is married to their friend Mike. Can you guess who? It's the lady on the left. Her shopping cart contains shampoo for men's hair and beard. Bella, Ella, and their common friends, Nick, Nancy, and Adam, are hanging out at Mike's place. The next morning, they find Mike unconscious in the living room. None of the 5 friends know what happened to him. The police show up and they find a note next to Mike's calendar. It reads 4, 12, 8, and 3. The detective already knows who attacked Mike. What about you? It was Adam. The note was next to a calendar. 4 implies April, 12 implies December, 8 August, and 3 March. Take the first 3 letters of each month, and you get the name Adam. The next day, Bella and Ella go skydiving. Oh no, Bella's parachute hasn't opened, and she's now plunging toward the ground. There are 2 places where she can land. Bella can either fall into the lake or into this large haystack. Can you help her choose the best option? Bella should try to fall on the hay. Can you see those creepy crocodiles hiding near the lake? Bella manages to land safely. She meets Ella and they go camping. Unfortunately, Ella gets bitten by a snake, and Bella is trying to suck the venom out of her leg. Mike is also on the trip. Suddenly, he spots a black widow spider on his arm. Who's in a bigger danger, Bella or Mike? Bella. If she has any scratches in her mouth, the venom will get inside her bloodstream. As for Mike, black widows rarely bite people, and the bites are rarely fatal. Hey, look at these couples. Can you spot anything weird here? Seems like the only real wife is the one on the right. She looks grumpy, but she is authentically human. Meanwhile, the lady on the left must be a robot. Just look at her legs. A local bank's money was stolen right in the middle of the day. But no one noticed that. Several days later, the room where the money used to be stored was found completely empty. There was just one note saying 7718. The police arrested 3 suspects, Bill, Jeff, and Cody, but the officers didn't know which of them was guilty. They invited a famous detective to crack the mysterious case, and the detective managed to decipher the note immediately. Can you do it too? So, turn the paper upside down. This way, the numbers turn into a name, Bill. The man wants to enter an exclusive club, but he doesn't know the password. Another man walks up to the entrance. The doorman says 12, and the man says 6, and is allowed to enter. Another man approaches. The doorman says 6, the man says 3, and the doorman lets him in. Thinking he's heard enough, our guy walks to the door. When the doorman says 10, he says 5. But he isn't allowed to enter. What should he have said? Three. The correct answer is the number of letters in the word the doorman says. Martin was a robber. One day he was trying to escape from the police after robbing a bank. He had 3 gold bars in his arms, each weighing 20 pounds. Ooh. The only way to get away was to cross a bridge, which could only support 220 pounds. The 3 bars of gold weigh 60 pounds, and Martin weighed 180 pounds. Could he cross the bridge without getting rid of any of the bars? Now, Martin can't leave a bar of gold and come pick it up later, so the only solution is to make those bars fly. To make it happen, Martin must juggle them. This way, only 2 bars will add extra weight to the bridge, while the third one will always remain airborne. Voila! 180 plus 20 plus 20 equals 220, so the bridge can totally handle it. However, Martin couldn't handle it because he couldn't juggle, and the police got their man. A thief entered a high-end boutique and forced the shop assistant to open the safe. The shop assistant said, "The code for the safe is different every day, and if you harm me, you'll never get the code." But the thief managed to guess the code on his own. How did he do it? The thief was smart. The code to the safe was the word different, just as the shop assistant said. A wealthy businessman, Mr. Ben Swift, was taken away and locked up in a dark room. His phone had almost no charge. He could only send one message. He knew that someone could be spying on his phone, so he decided to send a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who had a detective agency. He remembered that in high school, they would cipher messages to each other, replacing each letter with the one to the left. So he sent this: Can you guess what it means? It's not gibberish. Once you decipher it, the message reads accountant, so it seems his accountant is to blame. You're wandering through the jungle when, all of a sudden, you see a magnificent ancient castle. You enter it and see its inhabitants. It's kind of hard to say if they're friendly or not, but hey, look, they've just fetched you some snacks. Still, you can tell from their grins that these snacks might be a trap for you. You can't say no to them and need to choose something to eat. There are 4 muffins in front of you. They all look yummy and your mouth is watering. One of the inhabitants, who seems to be the leader, tells you that the first muffin has some fermented cabbage inside. The second is swarming with live ants. The third has mud instead of chocolate cream. And the fourth one has ackee fruit inside. So, which dessert should you opt for? A muffin with fermented cabbage may sound weird, but it's safe to eat. You've tried fermented cabbage, aka kimchi, before and you loved it. For those who love unusual stuff, the fourth muffin is okay too. Ackee fruit is delicious when cooked properly. As for the ants and mud muffins, I'd pass. Lucy is a nail technician. Her services are free to anyone who wants to set up an appointment. However, most people still end up paying her. How so? Lucy only does one hand for free, so most people who come end up paying the full price. They don't want to look weird with their nails done only on one hand. Poor Kathy lived with a stepmother and 3 wicked stepsisters. Her dream was to go to a lit party, which she had been waiting for a year. Her stepmother, Eveline, never let Kathy go anywhere. But this time, Eveline decided to let Kathy go as soon as she had finished with all her tasks. The stepmother asked Kathy to bring her some water, but she gave her a colander to carry the water. How can Kathy bring the water if she has nothing but a colander? Kathy needs to freeze some water and put it in the colander. It'll take some time to melt. When Eveline gets that colander full of ice, technically, it'll be full of water. Jeremy got lost while driving, so he found the nearest town and decided to spend the night in a hotel. After checking in, he went to the restaurant. Suddenly, the lights went off and everyone fell asleep. The next morning, Jeremy had a terrible headache and he couldn't remember anything. Look at these 2 photos. They were taken before and after the lights went out. Can you guess what happened? Look, there are some balloons in the first photo, but none in the second one. They must have been filled with sleeping gas. Someone wanted everyone to sleep. Jenny went grocery shopping and bought a lot of milk, yogurt, meat, and cheese. When she came back home, she realized that she had nowhere to store all these products as her fridge was already full. How can she save all the food she bought? Jenny needs to revise the stuff in her fridge. Look, there's a pack of rice, some chips, and even cookies. These products don't need to be stored in the fridge. Once she takes them out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store the dairy products and meat she bought. Twiggy's got her 2 piggies. Alex grooves with his 2 wolves. And Tony has a pony. They're all on the shore of a vast and dangerous river. They need to get across, and there's only one small raft nearby. But it's not as simple as it might seem. There are 5 rules the guys need to follow. Rule number 1, the raft can only carry 2 of them. Number 2, only humans can row. Number 3, the piggies can't ride with Alex unless Twiggy is around. Number 4, the wolves can't ride with Twiggy without Alex. And finally, number 5, the pony can only ride with Tony. How can they all get across? First, they need Tony on board. He needs to take one of the wolves across the river. The rules don't prohibit it. When he comes back, Alex takes the second wolf across the river. Then Alex goes back alone. Twiggy joins him and they go to the other bank, where Twiggy leaves Alex and goes back alone. She gives the raft to Tony and his pony, and they go to the other bank. When they reach it, Alex takes the raft and goes back to pick up Twiggy. He picks her up, they go back, and Twiggy leaves Alex there. After that, she goes back to pick up her pigs one by one. Finally, I thought this was never going to end. Hey! Here's Hudson. He's a college teacher. It's the last day of the semester, so he has a bunch of paperwork in his office. Suddenly, someone turns off the electricity in the entire building. Hudson goes to the basement with generators. There he sees a turned-off switch and 3 people standing next to it. They all say they didn't touch anything, but one of them is lying. The janitor says, "The lights went out when I came here to clean up." Rebecca says, "I'm a new student. I got lost in the corridors and accidentally got here." And Nick says, "I'm a last-year graduate. I came here to find a toy owl, a souvenir I had hidden here many years ago." Who's lying? The janitor has a bucket and a mop, so he's not lying. There's a toy owl in the corner of the room, so Nick is telling the truth. Rebecca is lying. It's the end of the semester, so she can't be new at this time. One of Hudson's students, Paul, has a crush on another student named Liza. Once he got a note from her saying she liked him. So Paul decides to write her back and ask her out. Unfortunately, he doesn't remember which desk is Liza's. There are 2 possibilities. Can you guess which desk is the one he needs? If you remember, the note was written in green ink. There's a similar green pen lying on the desk on the right. So this is most likely Liza's desk. After classes, Hudson is leaving the building and faces a group of his students. They ask him to take their picture. Can you spot an odd detail in the resulting shot? This guy here has 3 hands. Liza and Paul are having fun outside during their winter break. Liza is learning how to skate on the lake, and Paul is skiing in the forest. Who's not smart? Liza. The ice on the lake is cracking, and there's no one around to help her. Unlucky Liza. Paul, meanwhile, returns to the dorm. He's starving, so he opens the fridge that he shares with his roommate Nick. Right away, Paul begins to yell at his roommate. "Nick, you stole my food again!" Nick replies, "You're a liar. I didn't." Paul says, "Well, I have proof. I took a picture of our fridge before leaving." Can you tell who's lying by just looking at these 2 images? Take a closer look. The shelves are signed. These 2 shelves are Nick's and the other 2 Paul's. These 3 items disappeared from Paul's shelves. This means that the liar is Nick and it's time for a new roommate. Meanwhile, Liza and Paul are having a date tonight. Apparently, the lady on the lake survived the cracking ice. But Liza's dorm is situated on the opposite side of this maze. Can you help Paul pass through this labyrinth to meet his date? Here is the only way out. The college dean, Nina, hires a handyman to transform the area around the campus. That's what she says. Your task is to put 7 benches. I will triple your paycheck if you find a way to put exactly 6 rows of benches in a straight line. Also, each row should have 3 benches in particular. Can you help the handyman accomplish this task? He should put 3 benches as the vertices of an equal triangle. 3 more benches should be put at the center of each side of triangle. And the last bench should be at the center. The handyman gets to work and goes to the storage room to grab some tools. Can you find 2 identical items? Hey, here they are. The handyman is bored, so he starts a quiz game. He keeps asking the same question to every student he meets, but each time the answer is different. Can you guess the question? The handyman's question is, "How are you doing?" Hudson's teenage daughter, Jill, failed a test. So he makes her stay at home and study instead of going to a friend's birthday party. Meanwhile, Nina's teenage daughter, Jules, got sick. So she spends the entire day in her bedroom instead of going to the movies. Both daughters come down to dinner at 7 o'clock. Which parent was deceived? Nina. Take a look at the window. It's raining heavily. Jules has wet hair and dirty water on the edges of her jeans. It means she was outside. Uh-oh, liar. The next morning, Hudson and Nina both wake up earlier to prepare breakfast for their families. Nina is making sandwiches. Meanwhile, Hudson is making eggs with bacon. Who's wrong? Hudson. Oops, he forgot to turn on the stove. Hudson is walking to work through his favorite park and sees this scene. Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? There are 2 suns in the sky. Uh-oh, Tatooine. Hudson arrives at his class and starts with a witty riddle. Can you tell me which part of London exists in France as well? The correct answer is the letter N. A huge drama is taking place in a diner next to the college campus. The owner of this place screams, "Where's my money? It's 30 minutes till the end of the working day." But there's no money in the cash register. 3 employees have been working today, but they swear that they haven't touched the money. They say there have been no customers today. The boss doesn't believe them. He studies the employees, trying to spot the thief. Liza is wearing a pair of stylish sunglasses and brandy clothes. Mike is also wearing some costly designer clothes and an expensive phone. Robin is wearing a regular dress and fake jewelry. Who took the money? Nobody. Take a look at the sign on the door. It says "Open." That means that people on the street saw the closed sign on the other side. That's why nobody entered and the cash register remained empty. Hudson finds a secret hallway in the basement of the college building. He decides to explore it and finds an old treasure chest. But as soon as he touches it, 3 zombie pirates come out and grab him. One of them says, "Hey, we've been protecting this gold for 500 years. You can't take it." Hudson notices that something's wrong with these guys. Can you figure out what exactly? Well, they seem fake. This zombie is wearing sneakers. The second one has a phone in his pocket. And the third zombie has a price tag attached to his saber. Ah, busted! Molly is very nervous. She met a great guy online, and today they're having their first offline date. They have never seen the pictures of each other. Their date will take place in an old part of the campus at night. Molly arrives at the meeting point and sees 2 guys. The first one says, "It's a weird place for a date, but I'm glad to see you." And the second guy says, "It's me. I couldn't wait to see you. You're even more pretty than your photos." One of them is Molly's date, while the other one, a dangerous criminal. Can you guess who is who? It's the second guy who is dangerous. He mentioned photos, but Molly didn't send her online crush any pictures of herself. Therefore, the first guy is her date. Molly and her date want to go to a local nightclub, but the guard can't let them in without a password. He gives the guys a hint. "The more places I go, the less you can see. Who am I?" Darkness is the password. It's a beautiful weekend day. Nina is working in her garden. Suddenly, someone attacks her from behind and she faints. Later that day, she gets better and talks to the police. Nina suspects one of her neighbors. Some of them don't really like her. Officers question 3 suspects. Bill says, "I've been planting trees with my daughter all day long." Sabrina says, "I was just peacefully watering my gorgeous flowers and continue to do so." Luke says, "I rarely leave my house, so I don't even know this woman." Who's suspicious? Sabrina's garden hose isn't even connected to the water source. It's just lying on the ground. Therefore, her story is fake.
On a winter day, a man was standing in the middle of someone's front yard. The person stayed there for several weeks without moving, and the owner of the yard didn't mind. Eventually, the man left. Who was the man? It was a snowman, of course. He left a couple of weeks later when the temperature went up. Over winter break, 5 best friends each did different activities in different cities. Can you find out each friend's full name, what they did, and where they went? Their first names are Julie, Megan, David, Fred, and Sam. Their last names are Wallace, Thompson, Mallard, Shields, and Drake. Their preferred activities are a ski trip, moving to another place, a cruise, cooking classes, and visiting relatives. The places where they went are Houston, Paris, Cleveland, Vancouver, and Miami. And now, there's a bit more info you might need. 1. Julie and Miss Wallace were sad that David wasn't coming back. 2. Neither Sam nor Julie had ever left the US before this winter break. 3. All the first names that have 2 syllables belong with the last names that have 2 syllables. Nobody's last name starts with the same letter as their first name. 4. Miss Mallard is excited to learn about French cuisine. 5. Mr. Thompson doesn't want to move. 6. The friends, in no particular order, are as follows. The girl who is going on a ski trip, Mr. Shields, Megan, the boy headed to Houston, and Julie. 7. Cruises can only be taken in warm coastal cities. Ski trips can only be taken in cold, mountainous places. Remember that this winter. 8. The cruise ship Fred is traveling on does not dock in Houston. Also, keep in mind that Sam can be a boy's or girl's name. In this case, it's short for Samantha. Julie Mallard takes cooking classes and she went to Paris. Megan Wallace moved to Cleveland. David Thompson visited his relatives in Houston. Fred Shields went on a cruise in Miami. Sam Drake took a ski trip in Vancouver. It's 1962 and you're traveling to Innsbruck, Austria to see the Winter Olympics. When you arrive at the stadium, nobody is there. You ask a passerby, "Why isn't anyone here for the Winter Olympics?" The man answers your question. You both laugh at your silly mistake and you go back home. What did the passerby tell you? He told you that the Winter Olympics wouldn't start until 1964. There are a few airplanes on the island. The tank of each airplane contains just enough fuel to fly halfway around the world. Any amount of fuel can be transferred from one plane to another while in the air. The only source of fuel is on the island. It's assumed that all the planes burn fuel at the same rate and fly at the same speed. What is the smallest number of airplanes needed to ensure that one plane flies all the way around the world? All the planes should return safely to the island. Only 3 planes are needed. Planes A, B, and C leave the island together. After flying 1/8 of the distance, Plane C transfers 1/4 of the contents of its tank to Plane A and 1/4 to Plane B. This leaves C with 1/4 of its fuel, which is just enough to get back to the island. Planes A and B continue for another 1/8 of the way. Plane B then transfers 1/4 of the contents of its tank to Plane A. Plane B now has half a tank of fuel left, which is enough to go back to the island. Plane A now has a full tank and continues to fly until it runs out of fuel, which occurs when it's 1/4 of the way to the island. It is met by Plane C, which has already been refueled. Plane C transfers 1/4 of its tank to Plane A, and they both head home. Planes A and C run out of fuel when 1/8 of the way to the island is left. Luckily, they're met by Plane B, which has been refueled too. Plane B transfers 1/4 of its tank to each of the 2 planes, and the 3 aircraft now have enough fuel to get home. 2 50-foot ropes are suspended from a 40-foot ceiling 20 feet apart. You have only a knife. How much of the rope can you steal? Almost all of it. First, tie the ropes together at the ends. Then, climb one of the ropes. Make a loop as close to the ceiling as possible. While hanging from the loop, cut the rope just below it. But don't drop it, otherwise you'll be stuck up there. Run the rope through the loop and tie it to your waist. Swing over to the other rope and pull the rope that's going through the loop tight. Cut the other rope as close to the ceiling as possible, holding tight to the end of it. Once the rope is loose, you will swing down below the loop. Let yourself down to the ground by letting the rope out. At the bottom, untie yourself and pull the rope completely through the loop. At this point, you'll have all the rope except what was used to tie the loop. You find yourself trapped in a medieval castle far away from civilization. It's freezing outside. You can't jump out the window because it's too high above the ground, and even snowdrifts won't make the jump softer. The only tree growing near the window doesn't look sturdy enough for you to climb down. However, there are 3 doors, one of which can lead you to freedom. But behind the first door, there's a fierce fire. The second door holds back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there's a pitch-dark maze, and you can only imagine what surprises are waiting for you there. Which door should you choose? The third one. You'll just need to break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and go through the maze, which wouldn't be dark anymore. When Mary came to work after a winter break, she realized that the office had been robbed.
Oh, no.
The night guard said he had been patrolling the building when he'd heard suspicious noises. When he got there, he saw that the office door was wide open, and so was the safe. The man also added that he had looked out of the window and noticed someone get in a car. But the sun blinded him, and he didn't manage to see who it was. Mary instantly called the police. Why? There's no sun at night, so it couldn't have blinded the night guard. He must have invented the whole story to help the criminals. Or is he the thief himself? Tina and Timothy loved adventures. Once, they decided to check out an ancient castle in Greenland that was said to belong to a witch. That witch used snow to perform her magic and could turn into any object and copy anyone's appearance. In the castle, they used torches to light their way.
Oh, no.
All of a sudden, their torches went out. Tina got terribly scared, but then the torches lit again, and she saw two husbands of hers in front of her. Can you tell who is her real husband? It's the man on the right. He has 5 fingers, like a regular human. The man on the left has 4 fingers, so it must be the witch. An anonymous person called the police and told them that a notorious criminal had come back to the town. The next day, they called the police once again to report the screams they had heard. They had been coming from an abandoned house. The police rushed there. They broke in and saw 3 tied-up men. They figured out that one of them must have been the criminal. One of the officers said that he knew exactly who the criminal was. Can you spot them? Look at the man on the left. Can you see a phone in his pocket? A true criminal would never let their victim use a phone. Take him, officer! Jenny went to her favorite coffee shop and bought a latte. After she put her stuff and her coffee on the table, she went to the restroom to wash her hands. But when she came back, her latte was gone. There were only 3 other customers in the cafe. Can you help Jenny figure out who drank her coffee? This guy here has the same latte cup, but there are ice cubes in it. He must be drinking iced coffee. This lady's cup on the table is too small. She must be having an espresso. But check out this guy. Even though he doesn't have any drinks on the table, he has a coffee mustache on his face. And Jenny's empty latte cup is inside the trash behind his table. Kenny, the beach guard, spotted 3 people arguing on the beach. They were all claiming they had found a gold necklace in the sand. Tom said, "I found it with my metal detector." Lisa said, "I found it in the ocean while swimming." And Mike said, "I was digging in the sand to make a sandcastle, and that's when I found the necklace." Kenny knew only one of them was telling the truth. Who really found the necklace? Tom said he found the necklace with his metal detector, but it's turned off. Lisa said she found the necklace while swimming, but it's dry, unlike Lisa's swimsuit. So it couldn't have just come out of the water. That means Mike is telling the truth. Greg was taking a stroll in a busy park. but then he realized his wallet had disappeared. He remembered 3 people had bumped into him earlier, and one of them must have stolen his wallet. The police brought all 3 of them to the station. The first lady said, "It wasn't me. I have no pockets to hide the wallet." The second lady said, "I was only chasing after my dog." And the third guy said, "Look at my pockets. I have nothing in them." Who took the wallet? The third guy's pockets might be empty, all right, but take a closer look at the skateboard he's holding under his arm. This section of it is wrapped with duct tape, even though the skateboard doesn't look broken. And under the tape, hidden, there's something bulky. That must be Greg's wallet. Barney, the owner of the local gym, called Detective Espinoza and said someone had broken all the sports equipment before he arrived. When Detective Espinoza watched the security footage, he noticed that the vandal was still inside the gym and was last seen entering the dressing room stalls. Detective Espinoza immediately rushed there, but all 3 stalls were occupied. Can you help him find out who the criminal is? Take a look at the stall on the right. The small notice says it's out of order. Moreover, the lady inside it is either wearing underwear over her jeans or she just disguised herself in a hurry. So, the criminal is in the right stall. Bella went to the performance of a famous circus company. They were especially known for their skilled rope walker who never had any trouble during any of her performances. But right before she was about to step onto the rope, Bella shouted from the audience, "Stop the show!" Can you tell why? Take a look at the heels of the rope walker's shoes. The right shoe's heel is cracked. That could easily catch on the rope and cause her to slip no matter how talented she is. James had been saving money to buy himself a new motorcycle. He finally had enough to get the new model. When he headed to the store, he saw that there was a special offer. The helmet and other safety equipment would be free if he could answer this riddle. What kind of coat is always wet when you put it on? Can you help James get freebies? The answer is a coat of paint. James couldn't wait to drive his motorcycle back home. However, on his way, he made a wrong turn and ended up at an unknown crossroad. Which path should he take? The first path is all muddy, and that can make the bike slip. The second path looks like it's only covered with dried leaves. But if you take a closer look, you can see nails that can give James's motorcycle flat tires. So he should take the third path with the tiny pebble stones. After completing her yoga class, Aisha couldn't find her car keys. When she claimed it to the receptionist and asked for help, she said she saw 3 people near her locker. When Aisha questioned them, Rupert said he didn't even know how to drive. Lily said she was living within walking distance of the studio, so she wouldn't even need to drive. And Alan said he only had his own car keys. Can you tell who's lying? Look at the keys Alan is holding. He said those were his car keys, but the keychain has Aisha's name on it. He has her keys. As Amy was hiking in the forest, she reached a crossroad on the trail. When she searched for her bag to check the trail map, she noticed it was gone. And now she didn't know which path to take. Can you help her? The second path might look clear, but do you see the "Beware of Avalanche" sign under the leaves here? Seems like this won't be the safest option. As for the third path, take a look at these trees here. They all have bear claw markings on them, so she shouldn't choose that one either. but she can easily climb over the fallen tree blocking the first path and continue heading to the camp safely. Barry's boss loved games, and the only way to get a promotion in the company was if employees answered his riddles correctly. It was finally Barry's turn to have a meeting with him. When he entered the office, the boss said, "Tell me the answer and become a senior." A man and his boss have the same parents but are not siblings. How is this possible? He is self-employed. Ben and his girlfriend Jessica were enjoying the carnival in town. That's when Ben spotted the "Find the Odd One, Win the Prize" notice on one of the booths. The prize was a pearl necklace, and he wanted to win it for Jessica. The owner of the booth said Ben needed to spot the different wind-up toys on 3 different shelves. The first shelf had little bear toys moving around. Can you help him find the different one? This little bear's face looks as if it's blinking, unlike the others. The second shelf was full of small wind-up robot toys this time. Which toy is different? This robot has a square nose, unlike the others with triangle noses. The last shelf has cute wind-up fairy toys. Which one is different? This fairy here has 3 wings. Detective Terry was chasing a robber who was running away across a crowded street. But just as he was closing in, a passerby momentarily blocked his view, and the robber vanished. At the end of the road, there were only 3 shops where the robber could be hiding. Take a look at the display windows of each one. Can you spot him? Look at the hung clothes on the shelf that can be seen from the second store's window. Can you spot a glimpse of the red sneakers matching those worn by the robber? He's hiding in there. Victoria was invited to a costume party at her office. When she arrived, she noticed that one of her colleagues might actually be a monster. Can you tell who? Take a look at the guy wearing a superhero costume. Both of the gloves he is wearing are left-hand ones.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends.